Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. For today's video I have prepared something very special like always. For today I do not have an HP workstation or something like this. For today I have a Dell workstation. This is the Dell Precision 3640. It is in a small form factor tower, and today I'm going to speak why I chose this workstation now to use it as a main workstation, and how this kind of small form factor workstation can benefit you and your workflow. So stay tuned if you want to learn more. So see you now. So why do I chose now a Dell workstation? As you may already know, probably if you're watching this video, there are three main workstations manufacturers in the world. Those are HP, Dell, and Lenovo. As I already mentioned in previous video, now Apple is offering the Apple Pro or the iMac Pro, the Mac Pro or the iMac Pro. They are now as well in the market of workstations. But these three big manufacturers as Dell, HP, and Lenovo, those are the main workstation manufacturers, and usually the whole industry and the whole market of workstations and heavy duty or industrial computers, to be honest, it is only shared in between these three manufacturers, Dell, Lenovo, and HP. I am a huge fan as well of Dell Precision's workstations towers and laptops as well, as I am as well a huge fan of HP workstation and of Lenovo workstations. Each of the workstations in specifications and hardware, they are pretty much the same, to be honest. And since I started working with my first Dell Precision was the Dell Precision T7500. It was the biggest workstation model of Dell back on, I think it was 2013, 2012 probably. And I was amazed how amazing was this workstation. This workstation was my workstation when I was working as a design engineer for a chassis manufacturing company. And I was totally impressed about what this workstation could do. And now I have this is the small form factor. It is not the latest generation of Dell Precision workstation in the small form factor, but it is the one from the last generation. The generation that is currently running now, it is the 3650 in the small form factor, and this is the 3640. But to be honest, the 3630, the 3640, and the 3650, they share almost the same chassis, they share almost the same configurations. It is only changing in the, for example, in the 9th generation of Intel series, and 10th generation of Intel series, and 11th generation of Intel series respectively. So why now I chose to use this small workstation? As I mentioned in the past, I use a lot of workstations. It's my first huge workstation to the M6400 Dell Precision mobile laptop, and I came all the way through HP workstations, Lenovo ThinkStations, everything. But as you know, for my previous videos, I was using my main workstation was the HP Z840. It was the biggest of the workstation from the latest generation of HP workstations, and it is an amazing. It is an amazing device. It's so powerful. There is no thing that you cannot do with those kind of workstations, to be honest. But I was trying to look for something smaller now, as well very powerful, and a little bit more practical in my office. And I decided to sell my workstation. I just sold it a few weeks ago and got myself a small workstation. And I made a lot of research like always and all my experience in workstations, and I finally decided to get the Dell Precision 3640. I'm going to explain you now some of the features that this workstation can offer you and why did I chose specifically this model of workstations in between all the that are there in the market. So let's start. This is a small form factor. As you may notice from my previous videos, the workstation series are usually divided in three categories: the small form factor series, the mid towers, and the full size towers. In this case, this is the small tower series, and it shares a correlation with the HP C2 series, C2G2, C2G4, sorry, C2G5 I think it's now already. And for Dell, they have the 30 series or the 3 series for the small factors. They have the 5 series or 5000 series for the mid towers, and they have the 7000 series for the full size towers. This is the 3000 series, and it is from the 10th generation of Intel series processors. As I said, I wanted something smaller, but as well something powerful. One of the main characteristics of the 3640 Dell Precision is they accept processors from the Intel series 10th generation, from the Intel Core i3 series up to the Intel Core i9 series with 10 cores and 20 threads. As well of the Xeons, they are divided into there is one model that supports Intel Core i series processors, and the other one that supports the Intel Xeon series processors. They are basically the same. The discrepancies are in very small for features of the CPU specification and architecture of the CPUs, but at the end is almost the same. So what I was looking in this workstation, I was looking for something as well very powerful in CPU. I was looking for a small form factor computer in which I could use my full size GPUs, NVIDIA Quadros, and I was looking for a very high speed frequency CPU in order to play better games, because if you remember my HP Z840, it had an amount insane of cores. It had 44 cores and 8 threads, but they were not so fast, and in games, to be honest, as I already mentioned, that workstation was not made to really play games full, or at least it was bottlenecked always because of the CPU. It was not the highest in frequency, so I want something faster. And this configuration that I went with the 3640 with the Intel Core i9 10900K. It's a 10 core CPU, 20 threads, up to 5.3 GHz, and a base speed of 3.7 GHz. The main problem, and this is a huge problem of this small series of workstations, and this applies to the 3630, the 3640, and the 3650. These workstations, if you want to take most advantage of this small form factor with the highest or with the best CPU that you can put inside this computer, it's going to get hot, and it's going to get insanely hot. It's going to be, the CPU is going to thermal throttle, and if someone from Dell is watching this video maybe in years, so I don't know if someone knows someone that from Dell designers. I know that the engineers are amazing engineers, and they do a lot of fluid dynamics and thermal simulations and mechanical simulation, stress thermal simulations, airflow, everything they do, the engineers. But these computers with the max out CPU, it gets hot, and the CPU throttles because of thermal capacity. You cannot cool the 10 core CPU in this computer. There is no way that you from factory, even if they have 2 or 3 cooling solutions depending on the CPU that you are getting in your workstations. So if you get the i9 10900K, you will expect a cooling solution that could at least cool down the CPU even at 100% CPU usage. It does not. And since years I was not using a small form factor workstations, and now I remember why. Because in such a small boxes there is no way to design, or there is no way for proper cooling solutions. And I was really surprised when I just got this few days ago, and if you use the CPU 100%, there is no way that you are going to get it cool. It's going to go directly to 100 degrees Celsius, which is pretty bad for a CPU. They are workstations, they can handle them, but the CPU thermal throttle to 4 GHz, and it was at 100 degrees Celsius. and in 1 to 3 minutes. So I am really disappointed about the cooling solution of this workstation. I just want to start the video saying this because it is a huge feature in contra of this workstation. So let's now go and talk about the pros of having these small form factor workstations. So in order to start the review of this computer, let's go as always with the design, with the chassis. So here in front of the chassis we have, it's pretty basic, we have the power button, we have an old school SATA CD DVD player, which is, I think is good if you still need some drivers or some machines installation at your factory, at your company. I think this comes in handy, to be honest, and I think it looks okay. And then we have, this is the LED indicator of the hard drive, and then we have a combo headset microphone jack here, 3.5mm in the front, which I think is as well a nice feature to have. And then this is very important, the basic model, or if you are not getting the model with at least the 460 watts power supply, because there are four models of power supplies that you can put inside in the configuration of this computer. It is the 300 watts power supply or 350 watts power supply, 460 watts, 550 watts and 1000 watts. From the 460 watts, you are going to get the following configuration. This is very important. This is one USB 3.2 5 gigabits per second, and this is going to be three USB-A 3.2 10 gigabits per second. One of them is with this fast charge up to 15 watts or 20 watts of power delivery. And then you will have an USB-C 10 gigabits per second with as well power delivery of 20 watts. And then you are going to have a SD card reader. This is as well USB 3.2. I think it can hold as well up to 300 megabits per second or as well 5 gigabits per second, if I don't remember. If you get the lowest configuration, you are going to get two USB 2.0A, one USB 3.2 5 gigabits per second, and I think you are getting as well 5 gigabits per second USB-C, and you are not going to get the SD card reader. So this is the configuration for the better models, I would say, but I think the upgrade is just going to be like 40 euros, 40 US dollars. So to be honest, go for it, go for it. Front panel is just this kind of diamond cutting design that Dell is introduced since I think 6 years in their line of workstation, which I think looks very professional, looks very pretty, looks very clean, and with the Dell logo in the middle. This is the only air intake that the chassis is going to have on the front, pulling air from the front, which I think is okay if you don't have, as I just mentioned, the highest CPU or max out the CPU. I think the front is pretty cool. The Intel sticker in the front, like typical of workstation Dells. Then let's go to the side. To be honest, there is not that much to see in the side. We just have this intake as well for the fan. I'm going to show you later why it's in the side, and then as well another intake if you want to just install another fan, I guess. I don't know if you can install it, to be honest, but yeah, it's another opening. And then let's go to the back of the workstations. So you will have two DisplayPort 1.4, and then you will have two legacy PS2 for the mouse and keyboard. You will have now later two USB 2.0, USB-A 2.0, 1 gigabit RJ45 Ethernet port, and then you will have four USB 3.2A, one of them running at 10 gigabits per second, which I think is pretty standard for workstation usually. I think since 6 years it's always the same, 4 USB 3 series and 3rd generation, and always there is two ports of USB 2.0 because of compatibility reasons as well with some devices, machines that you could have or your company could have. After that we have an audio line. Yeah, this is normal jack for audio. Then we have the power supply. This model that I got it with the 550 watts power supply. This is a gold power supply, efficiency power supply. And then you have here the locking mechanism, which actually I'm going to explain later. It's pretty easy. and then you have then 5 PCI Express or PCI slots in order to expand your computer. In this computer I got the NVIDIA Quadro P4000. Actually, I bought this computer without the graphics cards because I already own an NVIDIA Quadro P4000, and I'm going to add another graphics card later the next week probably. So this is for the rear chassis, and in the other side there is, to be honest, nothing to show you. It is only a black side panel. So let's go now to the inside of the computer and let's take a look to the features that this computer in this small form factor can offer. So now to open the workstation is actually pretty easy. You have from factory you have here one screw. You just need to unscrew it, and then you just need to pull this and it's open. It is not going to fall down. It holds it here in place. I already add some components to this computer, and then in order to unlock this you just need to go here, up, but I was already there. And this is how it looks, the computer from the outside. You have two 3.5 inches device slots. You have here another one 3.5 inches slot for usually hard drives. And then if you open the workstation like this, I think since the 3630 series it's always the same opening mechanisms, then you will see this is the inside of the computer. So this is how it looks. This is the power supplies, and this is the inside. So guys, this is the main problem of this workstation. Just imagine this, I have a 10 core CPU, 20 threads, extremely high speed Intel Core 10th generation 10900K. And you want to cool the CPU with this guy, even this is the bigger guy, this is the bigger cooling solution that Dell offers for this workstation. It is nothing. I mean, there is no way you can cool such power with this cooling system. And then the other thing, the CPU is pulling air from here, pushing it, and then out here with another fan that you have here installed. Maybe you can see it. But you need to mind that as well. Imagine that you are using the GPU as well, 100%. Maybe you are doing some renders or some computation operations with your graphics card, and the graphics card is going to get hot. And then the CPU is taking the hot air from the graphics cards and pushing it as well, which is insane. I mean, this CPU, I am totally... yeah, it is not good, to be honest. I was expecting more from this workstation, at least in cooling system. For the memory RAM, this computer accepts up to 128 gigabytes of DDR4 memory with 32 gigabyte modules running at 2933 megahertz with the Intel i7 and i9 series, or 2666 megahertz with the other processors. This computer offers one PCI Express by 16 full slot, and then it offers as well one old PCIe slot. This is just for compatibility reasons with some devices. And then it offers as well one PCI Express by 8 slot, which is this one here. And the nice thing, one of the nice features of this computer is that it has two M.2 slots directly attached to the mainboard, to the motherboard. And this is actually a nice thing. You can always rate them and use them both to get even higher speeds. So I think this is pretty nice. And as I said, this is the 3.5 inches, and the other one is height here. And for PCI Express, for graphics card connectivity, you have two 6+2 cables connectors. One is in my P4000, and then the other one is here. This is the inside of the computer, as I already showed you. And to be honest, the configuration, this computer maxed out is a monster. It's a small monster. The only problem is the cooling solution. You can't forget it. And if you are doing some renderings, I don't know, just an example, SolidWorks Visualize. SolidWorks Visualize, there's a lot of professional people and creators that use rendering software like SolidWorks Visualize, Keyshot, and they have the configuration possibilities of use the CPU and the GPU in order to accelerate the renders. And they do not use it like games, just like sporadically. No, they use it 100% immediately. CPU, GPU, memory RAM, it's going to just eat your configuration hardware. And if it gets hot, I mean, I told you, I just made a small render, and like in 30 seconds, it was already thermal throttling the CPU from 5 gigahertz directly to 4 gigahertz. And that's not a problem, because you will say, Jorge, if the chips stay hot, they reduce frequency. It's normal, yeah, but what is not normal is to be in 100 degrees Celsius. My main workstation, the HP Z840, of course, it was a monster with the vapor chamber CPU coolers, 22 cores. Each CPU, it was running maxed out for days, like 65 degrees only. And I'm very disappointed about the cooling solution of this computer. Otherwise, if you are playing games, this guy is a monster with a nice graphics card inside. Up to 128 gigs of RAM is more than enough for most of you people. And actually for me now, I reduced a lot as well I would say the intensity of RAM hungry applications that I am using. Before it was really intensive, those applications, but now I think it's not that I reduced, but I think I learned how to use my resources more efficiently. And I do not need more than 128 gigs of RAM, to be honest. Not now. I sometimes, with some simulations, I really capped like 100, 110 gigabytes. But I always modify my models and my setups in order to be in range of memory. And of course, if I need more memory, I have my main workstation as well for long simulation that requires more memory. So even if I am disappointed with the computer, do not think that I am not happy. I am so happy because it is really small, it is really powerful. I am going to put an NVIDIA RTX A4000 graphics card in this computer. The CPU is an amazing CPU, it goes really fast. I'm going to show you maybe some benchmarks now later if I can make it to the benchmarks. But all in all, this is a very nice workstation. It has a really nice features. It's going to look pretty good in your desk, and it is a Dell Workstations. Drivers update it is 2 clicks, and the Dell Command Center is an amazing feature that is going to keep updated your system all the time. And these Dell Workstations are already prepared for Windows 11 as well when it is coming now. I think in September, October is releasing. These workstations are already showing that it is Windows 11 ready. I think it's a nice thing as well to have. The expandability of hard drives is a really nice thing to have. I have 3 8 terabytes Seagate in RAID 0 for a storage of 21 terabytes approximately. So just imagine this small computer with 20 terabytes of storage, and if I don't recall wrong, you can put up to 3 18 terabytes Seagate hard drives here. Imagine just that's why I like this. Now small computers are getting so powerful that there is no need to have a huge workstations like before in order to have the capabilities and the features that only big workstation used to offer. Now you can have everything, to be honest, in one small package. That is the objective of this upgrade for me, just to try as well small form factor computers, and I don't know, maybe I'm going to change my mind about small workstations. Hope you like this small review, even if they are not the newest devices, but I think these devices comes pretty handy now because they are getting cheap, and because there is no the price of hardware new is still really high. Even if now the prices are dropping, I think this just the latest generation of workstation, they are amazing device to get. They are getting pretty cheap. Usually no one buys them. That's why you can get them pretty cheap on any online store in United States, in Germany, in whole Europe, to be honest, they are getting pretty cheap. That's why I think these devices now make a lot of sense for a lot of you guys that are looking for a new powerful device. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked my video, and see you in the next video, because it is going to be a very nice thing. I found on the internet probably a solution to the cooling system of this computer. So I'm gonna try to do it, and if it works, I'm going to show you the results in the next video. So thank you very much for watching. See you in the next time, and ciao.